Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Every Arkansan podcast. I'm Drew Davis, and this week I've got a special friend, Jo Wilson Myrick. She is passionate about helping those that might not have the best background, the best record. They might have a few mistakes in their past, chase after their God-given dreams. Hope you enjoy her story of how she is helping others. Well, Miss Jo, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here. We're always excited about what you do and the difference you make in the community. And honestly, it's really unique. But before we jump into all of that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I grew up in Arkansas, lived pretty much in Mountain Home as a child, and then moved to Morrilton and graduated from high school there. Very blessed to have a wonderful, loving family, big brother and sister. Good Christian family, in and out of the First Baptist Church anytime the doors opened. Just had a good, solid foundation and upbringing, you know. Attempted college at University of Arkansas. Had a great time. My dad and I, we can laugh about that today because I was only, made it for about a year and a half. And then moved on to Dallas, Texas, Miami, Florida, Tampa, Florida, just doing back and forth a variety of different jobs. Waiting tables, working in a law firm, clerical, secretarial. Never really knew kind of what I wanted to do. You know, I remember my sister was young. She always wanted to be a nurse. You know, my brother wanted to be a county agent like my dad. But I never really knew. I never really knew what I wanted to do. And it kind of all makes sense to me today as to where I ended up. Starting off in high school and talking about going through college and not making it, I started drinking. And a lot of it in my family, there's on my dad's side of the family, there's a lot of alcoholism. So part of me thinks it's kind of somewhat genetic, as well as had some insecurities, young, and wanted to fit in. And once I started drinking liquid courage, again, gave me lots of courage. I was pretty, had no problem chit-chatting with anybody, and that's just kind of how my addiction started. So, and then going through college, and then just started dabbling into to drugs at that point. And it took years for it to really come full blown. I still, you know, for years I functioned as an addict. Was able to still make it to work, but life was crazy. You know, living check to check, barely surviving. Again, I mentioned that I grew up in church, but as I got older, I never had that daily relationship with God. It was only kind of an emergency basis. 911, God, I promise if you get me out of this situation, I will, I'm not going to do it again. I just was just kind of off the chain and just living a crazy life, you know, live life like there's no tomorrow. Again, functioning for about 20 years with my addiction, still being able to maintain and live and all of that. When I was 35, and I lived in Tampa, Florida, I finally got arrested for the first time. And then that's kind of when my addiction really kicked in and kind of became 24/7. And so anyways, but through that arrest and everything, that was my first time to go through rehab. And so I went through a drug court program in rehab down in Tampa, Florida for about 6 months. Had every intention to do right. When I came out, at the end of it, I learned that my mother was very sick from the flu. And so I came home. She passed away. Went back to Tampa to complete my program, and then my dad asked me to return back to Arkansas to stay with him. Came back, did really great, got a job. Of course, I was living with him. He was taking me to work. But remember, you know, not only having just 6 months of recovery, I've just lost my mother. Didn't really properly mourn her loss. So anyways, as time went on, I eventually went back to the drugs. It's easier when you've learned how to self-medicate. It's easier to make that phone call instead of reaching out to your pastor or seeking counseling. And I just wasn't ready yet. So for the next 10 years from that point, I was, again, remember I got arrested when I was 35 at the first time. I ended up in and out of, kept a few jobs, did a couple of more rehabs, and in and out of jail. Finally, in 2011, I was sent to prison and came out, and when you're in prison and when you're in jail, you have all this time to daydream, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to open up a women's home, we're going to, you just have all of this time to think of that stuff. Came out of prison, still wasn't done. And so I went back out to using, and finally a couple of years later, and I had absconded, and so I had a warrant for my arrest, and ended up getting arrested again for that, as well as I had other things with me, so I got new charges. And so at this time I was 42. And for me, doing time was easy. Get a lot of time to read books. I get along with everyone. I follow the rules when I'm inside. I'm very cooperative. So, but walking out the door is extremely hard to start over. It's extremely hard to start over. Today, 10, 20 years ago, to get a job, you took in your resume, talked for a few minutes, shook hands, and you started the next day. Today, with the touch of a few buttons, you can see my whole life right there. And that's, to me, I find that it's sad because I feel like today backgrounds are looked at more so than your work experience. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so the thought of, starting over again scared me to death, as well as at that time, the last time I got arrested, I was facing several years as a habitual. And so it was like, okay, it's time to grow up. It's time to grow up. And so that's when I got on my knees in the Pulaski County Jail, and I prayed for a second chance. And again, I'm like, I'm going to keep you first this time, God, and I'm going to keep my sobriety. And so I still had 3 more months left to do. I got extradited back to Florida on an old charge. But everything just started falling in place. And that next morning after I had prayed on my knees, I felt 50 pounds lighter. It was amazing. And I think I knew at that point in my heart it was over. I still had lots of consequences, things to complete, but I knew something was going to be different this time. And so I was free. Even though I was still behind the bars, I was free. And my time flew right by. Another lady and I, she was kind of in the same position with me. We got in trouble for laughing too loud. And people are like, how are you so happy? I'm like, because it's over. It's over. So after that, I got out, was in a drug court program, which was very time demanding, lots of groups. Started looking for a job, a place to live, very challenging. Got to go back 7 years. I had charges that were 3 months old, plus only had 3 months of sobriety at that point. But fortunately, again, keeping God first, got involved in AA, my drug court. I was in another women's program. Everything started to fall into place. I got an opportunity with Goodwill Industries, which has a program for felons, to work. And once that 4 months was over, because of some of my previous work experience, they gave me an opportunity to actually work with the TEO program. So this is when I kind of really got introduced into the nonprofit world with Goodwill. Started meeting a variety of different people, different organizations, learning more and more about different kin-free homes, rehabs, that kind of thing, to be able to offer these services back to others that were coming through this program. And then was introduced to Jeff Spry.
I think that's a lot of people's crossroads in life. I was introduced to Jeff Spry.
Yeah, and and I knew there was something interesting about him. I didn't, and this is right when he had started through, of course, City Connections, a faith-based nonprofit organization, but a subsidiary of City Connections, Jeff had started Operation Restore, a missional employment staffing agency. And so he was ready for me to come and work for Operation Restore, just as an employee right away, but I had made a commitment to Goodwill. But I knew from the very beginning of meeting him, there was something else that was going to come about. And so again, I continued working with Goodwill part-time, and then I got to work with Operation Restore part-time, and eventually going back to it full-time. So Operation Restore, again, we're a missional employment staffing agency, focusing on serving individuals that are coming out of drug and alcohol rehab, mostly having a felony background, or just someone being broken, maybe homeless. It is our mission to help them get into a job opportunity where they can possibly go permanent and maybe even make a career of that. Along with all of that, though, with someone starting over, there's so much more involved than just getting a job. And so, again, being a part of City Connections as the father company, I can't tell you, again, the number of different organizations and representatives that I get to work with. And so one of the ways that where our employees are sent to us from is from the different rehabs, Kim-Frees, probation officers, parole officers. And again, we've built strong relationships. And I will backtrack and say that is one great thing that I've learned through City Connections is building strong relationships and partnerships. And I feel that's why a lot of people reach out to us, is because they know they can trust us, and then we're not just going to send you somewhere that we've heard about. Some great things that I learned from Jeff Fry. But so again, building these great relationships with a variety of the different Kim-Frees rehabs, they refer people to us once they've kind of completed their residential treatment or the beginning of their program, and are saying we think that they're ready to get started in work. And then on the other side, we've been blessed with some wonderful employers, a lot, again, through relationships from different churches, word of mouth, from people that we work with, and most of them, all the companies being faith-based, or someone in the HR department being faith-minded. Again, when you work with someone starting over, there's a whole lot to it. And so a lot of our employers were blessed that they not only provide them employment, but there's mentoring, or a big brother, or a big sister. So it's just all around a big circle, and it takes all of us to work with one person. And so, and again, like I said, got to have somewhere good to live, safe environment. Do you have food? Do you have transportation? And again, so we hope that when individuals come to apply with us, that they learn that we're a little bit more than just about employment. Just a little bit more.
They're going to get the Mama Joe. I will say that the being in your office, in one of the back offices or whatever, listening to you mother some of them, it's like probably the first time in their life they've actually had a mother that just told them that, hey, that isn't going to work anymore. That's so great to see, because so much of the time, especially in the corporate world, you can't do that anymore. Oh, that's crossing some boundary or whatever. But it's so amazing to see your story being made whole. I think it's one of those things, we've all been through it, or we've had children that have gone through it. It's like, Lord, why in the world did I go through this? Or why in the world did this happen? And you've just got that unique understanding of, like, I've been there, done that. I'm going to call it what it is, and can relate. But it's so impressive to see someone that doesn't let that hold them back.
So, as I said earlier, I never knew what I wanted to do. I didn't have a dream as a child or in high school of what career I wanted to pursue. And so I do believe God has a plan for everyone and a purpose for everyone. And I believe I went through what I did in order to get where I am today. And I don't want any more experiences. And I don't recommend to anybody, well, go out and do all of this so you can find your dream. Right. But it all makes sense today to me. And so I'm grateful. It sounds crazy, but I am grateful for my addiction, because I get to do what I get to do today. I get to be a part of someone's journey. And it is so neat to, usually when they walk through the front door for the first time, and I know you guys deal with this all the time, the head's hung down low, no confidence, no smiles. And then to kind of watch them, get into that safe environment, work a program, find God, and get that employment, and that head slowly starts to come up, smiling, and the confidence is there. And it's just amazing. And I'm amazed that, I never in my right mind thought anything could come positive, come out of what I've done, but it is today. And it's incredible that I get to use those experiences to help someone else. And at the end of the day, it keeps me clean and sober. So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win all around. So
we had Terry Williams in earlier from City of Faith, and she was just sharing this story about a life change that happened when a guy, he actually got on at Goodwill, driving a forklift. What are some of, I know that you've got people all over the place doing stuff. What are some of the things that people need to realize about opportunities and about the people that you're serving, and not letting that discourage an employer from giving someone a chance, or a parent from taking back that kid another time, or whatever it is?
Well, when I meet with employers, first of all, talking on that side of it, yes, you take a big chance today. First of all, I believe you take a chance with any human being.
Absolutely.
In our world today. But yes, as to working with an individual, and let me say this, Operation Restore, we work with every type of felon that's out there. We don't look at your past, we look at what you're doing today. Now again, some charges are pretty serious, and some employers would find that they're a liability. And we do have employers that will work with every charge, and then we have some that have certain criteria to be met. And we want this to be successful for everyone, the employee and the employer. So we look at that, and I always say there's a good fit for everyone. We're not going to put a diabetic in a candy store. So as to reaching out to employers, as to, okay, should I take a chance and bring in a felon? First of all, yes, there can be some situations or issues from it. But for the most part, you will be amazed as to how I believe a felon will go above and beyond the average Joe to prove themselves. If you give them a chance, just give them that chance to walk through that door, they're going to prove to you that they're worthy of that. They're going to prove that. And again, there can be some relapses with the drug addiction and stuff like that, but for the most part, you'll be amazed at how they will go above and beyond to prove themselves. So I do reach out to, and ask of everyone, give a felon a chance. Give someone that chance. With families, now after I get to work with other individuals, and I do get the opportunity to meet with some of their parents when they're at their wits' end, and again, I'm trying to encourage them, don't give up yet. And I look back, and all the time now, I tell my dad, I'm so sorry, Daddy, I'm so sorry for what I put you through, because now, these individuals I work with, they are like my kids. And so now I get to see what it's like being on the other side, and how stressful and frustrating, and to see them when they do fall back. More boundaries have to be set, but we never give up. We never give up. I encourage families and parents to reach out to Al-Anon, or reach out to your pastor or your Sunday school classroom, in order to kind of help you get through those things. And with that being said, too, and talking about individuals, how we can get involved, reach out if you have a family member or a child or a sister or a brother. Reach out to the other ones. That's where you can give back, is because you understand what they're going through.
I think one of the things that really makes us a little different than a company just straight up hiring a felon and taking all the risk is one of the things you guys kind of do is mitigate that. So it's like they can hire them through this temporary agency, and it's like if it's not working out, it's like, okay, we won't send them there anymore. I mean, so even to these employers, the risk is somewhat mitigated. There's less risk for them in just giving someone an opportunity than any other method out there of helping a felon or an addict or someone that's gone through some life hurt, so to speak.
Right. And the thing is, again, bringing them through an agency such as Operation Restore, it's expensive to hire anyone. It's, the time, the investment, the insurance, and that kind of thing. So with having maybe a fear of bringing on a felon, again, running them through the Operation Restore allows you to have that probation period to kind of be able to evaluate them and see, is this going to be a good fit? Are they truly ready to go and make that commitment? If they're not, then there's no harm done there. They simply, you let us know, and we move that person on to a different situation or to a different job. And again, then they haven't spent all that money in bringing on a new hire, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I mean, doing this, I know there's lots of discouraging days, but what are some of the big wins that you just always look back at and say, okay, this could be the next such and such?
Yeah, we get to see a lot of different success stories. In kind of going back, Drew, just a little bit too, I want to say when they first come in, you'll be amazed at some of the skills and experience that our employees have. And in the beginning, of course, maybe there might be some lapse in job history. So I always kind of encourage, let's get a job. I believe there's a difference in a job and a career, or finding out where your dream is, what you want to pursue. So get a job, build that work history. Again, you never know what can even turn out from that temp assignment. We have one individual that he's got a very decorated past, been in and out several times, but can build a house. He's just amazing at his skills with construction and just a variety of different things. And so when we met with him, of course, we have a construction company that we work with. And, based on his resume and everything, I mean, he is like the real deal. But again, do we, And so, of course, he started with the construction company at $9 an hour, where, he was accustomed to making probably $20, $30 an hour. But still, we don't know. But, man, he had humbled himself and understood that, yeah, we have to start at the bottom sometimes. And so I think that was about 1.5 years ago. He's, I'm going to cry. He's a superintendent with that company now. And has just built a new Popeyes building for that. And so that's incredible.
Absolutely.
And it's incredible to be a part of that. And it's neat to see, and of course, being blessed with his employers who are good Christian men and have loved on him, because there's been some ups and downs.
Absolutely.
There's been some slip-ups. But man, they stuck with him and they prayed for him. They set some boundaries, loved on him, and got right back in. And again, is just doing amazing. And so the whole process, and it's just amazing. The rehab that he came from, that we work closely with, that referred him to us. The program, the wonderful program that they have. To him humbling himself, taking the bus. Taking the bus, that's a whole new ballgame, having to humble yourself and take the bus, and then working his way up to being the superintendent on the job site. And now I get to refer people to him, and he calls on me now to send him employees. How awesome is that?
Full circle.
The full circle. And jumping back as to Operation Restore, I always like to share with people. Of course, Operation Restore operates as a temp agency, and we're for-profit. Our father company, City Connections, being a faith-based nonprofit, whatever profit Operation Restore makes it goes back into City Connections.
Which is a great ministry, which has changed the direction of our ministry over the years and so many more. And like we hit on when this all began was that Jeff Spry influence that we all had. This, crazy guy who just said, hey, ministries ought to be working together.
That's right.
I mean, that's such a crazy thought in this day and age, but it's been such a blessing because I know that just working with the recovery centers and the reentries and those things are just half of the organizations you work with. I mean, there's so much more on the housing and the furniture and the food and so many other things that it's way more than what I would call a temporary agency. It's truly that Operation Restore. It's a ministry wrapped up as a for-profit, but it's really looking at restoring those lives, but also the lives of the families. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that you talked about your dad and what you put him through and all that. But I can guarantee you that your dad is just like looking at this and saying, yes, and just looking at the woman you've become and the mother you've become that so long ago wasn't necessarily realistic to think of, in the restoration in your own life.
Yeah, I think he got close to giving up, but never did. And, with all that being said, again, I'm very fortunate because I do have a loving family. I want others to know not everyone is so lucky as I to have a good family. Some of these individuals starting over, they're all on their own. Mm-hmm. They're all on their own. They never saw mom and daddy go to work. They never saw mom and daddy at all. So when reaching out to people to give these individuals a chance, get to know them, not justifying for the choices that we've made, but you don't know what they've gone through. I still have my daddy to reach out to when I need help, but a lot of these, they have no one. They come into Little Rock, paroling out to some of these Kim-free homes, not knowing Little Rock at all, having to take a bus, not knowing where they're going, and just have the people in this program they're working with, which do become wonderful family members. But it's not easy on that. But again, yes, I am very grateful that I still have my dad and family and that foundation to lean on.
Well, Jo, that's about all the time we have. We are so thankful for you. I know that you've been a blessing to all of us, whether you know it or not. And we've always talked about, after we've left the office over there, just look at Jo, look at this, look at that. And even when we walk into that building and we're not there to see you, just that smiling face of just, I don't know, it makes a difference in all our lives. And we're so thankful for you, so thankful for your commitment to what you're doing.
Well, I love working with you guys, and again, it's God that brings us all together. So thank you for having me.
Hey guys, I hope you loved hearing Jo Wilson Myrick's story. It's a story of redemption, a story of how God takes what Satan intends for harm and uses it for good. Jo Wilson Myrick is passionate about not letting anything hold anyone back. She's passionate about God's story shining through in people's lives. So if you like this video, give us a great big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Let us know what part of Jo Wilson's story resonated with you the most.